Monopolistic competition. So we are going to talk about monopolistic competition in this case. So in this particular recording, we will talk about what are the features of monopolistic competition. How do you find out the equilibrium in monopolistic competition, both in short run and in the long run? And how do you find out whether industry is characterized by the monopolistic competition? So in a way, we're talking about the concentration measures. Also, we're also going to talk about that is very briefly excess capacity, because there need to be a separate recording on excess capacity also. So very briefly here today in monopolistic competition, we're going to talk about excess capacity. तो सबसे पहली बात monopolistic competition में ये है कि large number of small firms हैं. So there are large number of small firms in monopolistic competition. So what do you mean by large number of small firms? That means that any of these firms, they do not have the market dominance. That is what is meant by monopolistic competition. किसी भी फर्म का मार्केट डोमिनेंस नहीं है, बहुत ज्यादा मार्केट शेयर नहीं है. अब उतना कम भी नहीं है जैसे परफेक्ट कंपटीशन में है, लेकिन उतना ज्यादा भी नहीं है जैसे कि ओलिगोपोली में या मोनोपोली में है. You with me? So very large number of small firms. So what do you mean by this? You mean that there will be few firms which will have the market share, but that market share won't be large enough as in oligopoly or in monopoly, and it won't be small enough as in case of perfect competition. But it is small, right? Small as in, I mean, you cannot say that such a firm will have a market dominance there, right? Then you have the second feature is that in monopolistic competition, the firms are selling differentiated products. Firms are selling differentiated products. So what do you mean by differentiated products? Differentiated products are, you are selling mostly a similar product, sometimes even a same product, mostly a similar product. There may be some difference in quality here and there, but that will be perceived as hugely different, maybe hugely different by customers, right? So differentiated products क्या है? जो firms हैं वो एक ही तरह के products बेच रही हैं, लेकिन जो customers हैं उनको ये लगता है उनकी आंखों में ये जो products हैं वो बहुत different हैं. For example, Colgate and toothpaste, Colgate and Pepsodent, let's say Colgate and toothpaste, Colgate and Pepsodent, right? So in the eyes of the customers, they are different. I mean, they have certain kind of brand loyalty. But यहाँ पे also the firms, they are selling differentiated products. And these differentiated products would mean what? They are homogeneous, but not exactly homogeneous also. Homogeneous भी है, लेकिन homogeneous नहीं भी है, right? अब टूथपेस्ट तो टूथपेस्ट ही है, लेकिन शायद किसी को किसी टूथपेस्ट का टेस्ट अच्छा लगता है, किसी को उसका रंग अच्छा लगता है. So you never know that. So these are differentiated products, and these firms, they are selling differentiated products, monopolistic competition. And so that's what I've written out here. Close substitutes of each other. They are close substitutes. Perfect substitutes, no. The close substitutes. So in case if they are perfect substitute, that means that firms are selling completely homogeneous product. But we're talking about close substitutes. So firms are selling close substitutes of each other. टूथपेस्ट ही है, लेकिन शायद कोई किसी का रंग लाल है तो किसी का सफेद है. So you never know, right? In the sense that it depends on you which brand you want to prefer, right? So that is what differentiated product is. And also they are sufficiently similar to be distinguished as a group from the other products. They are sufficiently similar to be distinguished as a group from the other products. That is one of the other feature of the differentiated products. That is of monopolistic competition, and they are selling the differentiated products in case of monopolistic competition. And then you have price setters. Now, if I am selling a differentiated product and I am a monopolistically competitive producer, then I have some power, right, to set their prices, to set my prices. मेरे पास कुछ power तो है कि मैं अपना प्राइस इस तरह से सेट कर सकता हूं. So I am not behaving like a perfectly competitive producer. So I have some power over the price setting behavior. So I can set the price the way I want, above the cost. Right. In the another recording also we've talked about when the producers, they are selling the differentiated products, then P equals to MC is not a Nash equilibrium. Right. So we have shown there also, I hope, in the Hotling's lemma recording, not in Hotling's lemma, in Hotling's model recording on differentiated products, I've talked about that how do firms can set the prices above their marginal cost. So P equals to marginal cost is not a Nash equilibrium anymore. That's one thing. So they are facing the downward sloping demand curve, and they're able to set their prices above their marginal costs, right? So, and they can also set their output levels, competing on quality, price, and marketing, right? So what they're competing on is they're competing on quality. Now, there are people, who are selling, let's say, for example, toothpaste or soap or any other thing. Most of the goods, they have substitutes of each other, right? So how do firms compete from the other firms? They compete on the basis of quality. I'm selling a better quality product than the other. So they try to inculcate this feeling in the mind of the customer that yes, my product is better. And that is the reason they spend a lot on advertising also. You remember that? That's the point, your marketing. So guys, you have to understand this. अगर मैं एक सेलर हूं जो कि मैं डिफरेंशिएटेड प्रोडक्ट्स बेच रहा हूं, तो उस केस के अंदर अगर मैं एडवर्टाइजिंग करता हूं तो मैं कंज्यूमर्स को ये समझा सकता हूं कि मैं डिफरेंशिएटेड प्रोडक्ट बेच रहा हूं, मेरा प्रोडक्ट दूसरे के प्रोडक्ट से बढ़िया है, तो आपको मेरा प्रोडक्ट बाय करना चाहिए, राइट? सो इन दैट केस व्हाट विल हैपन इज दैट प्रॉफिट लेवल्स ऑफ द फर्म्स विल इंक्रीज, एंड दैट एक्सप्लेन्स व्हाई फर्म्स दे इन्वेस्ट अ लॉट इन एडवर्टाइजिंग, राइट? वो क्यों एडवर्टाइजिंग में इतना ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट करती हैं? सो वो प्राइस पे खेलते हैं, वो क्वालिटी पे खेलते हैं, और वो मार्केटिंग पे खेलते हैं. सो हाउ डू दे compete from each other? They compete from each other in terms of price, they compete from each other in terms of quality, they compete from each other in terms of marketing, right? That is what they compete on, right? For example, iPhone and Samsung, right? So there is for all kinds of customers, they have certain kind of brand loyalty. So I may not want to buy an iPhone because I think the price is too high. I just have to talk on the phone. I do not need to buy an iPhone. So that is one of the reason that this is one of the way that these firms are competing on price. They're also competing on quality at the same time. So iPhone might give this signal in my head that, boss, even though you want to buy the other phone, but I am giving you a better quality. But if I don't have a budget, I cannot buy that. But I'm just telling you how they are competing from each other on these bases. In perfectly competitive producer, he doesn't have to compete on these things. He cannot set the price. He will be given a price. He will have to sell whatever he wants to sell, whatever amount he wants to sell at the given price, right? Okay. Then the another feature of the monopolistic competition is that they have low barriers to entry. You want to come in the monopolistically competitive industry, you can come. There is no problem at all, right? So in oligopoly, sometimes when the market share is too high, it is very difficult to come as such. But in monopolistically competitive industry, there are low barriers to entry. Now, what is an implication of low barriers to entry? The implication is that if there are more and more firms coming to the market in a monopolistically competitive industry, they are coming or they are entering the industry because they view that there is a possibility of earning a lot of profits in this industry. And that is what we are going to show, that in the short run they are right. They can earn profits, but in the long run they will not be able to earn profits. They will only be earning normal profits. So if the industry is characterized by low barriers to entry, right, then in that case what will happen is that these firms may experience zero profits, or you can say just normal profits in the long run, right? That's what it is. Okay, low barriers to entry. In perfectly competitive industry, you had no barriers to entry. In monopolistically competitive industry, we'll say it is low barriers to entry. Okay. Then you have the another point, which is how to identify monopolistically competitive industry. So for that, we need to find out what is the concentration measures. What are the concentration measures? So one is your CR4 measure, right? And another is your Herfindahl index, right? Herfindahl index measure. Okay. Okay. So, what is this 4-firm concentration ratio and Herfindahl-Hirschman index? What do you mean by this? CR4 का मतलब है कि आप लार्जेस्ट 4 फर्म्स लेंगे मार्केट में या इंडस्ट्री में और देखेंगे कि उनके सम का जो परसेंटेज वैल्यू है वो कितना है, राइट? सो मान लीजिए किसी इंडस्ट्री के अंदर 50 फर्म्स हैं, तो मैं ऐसी 4 बड़ी फर्म्स ले लेता हूं जो सबसे बड़ी 4 फर्म्स हैं और उनके परसेंटेज वैल्यू ऑफ सेल्स को ऐड करूंगा. मुझे पता लग जाएगा कि मार्केट शेयर उनका कितना है. ऑफ कोर्स ये जो रेंज है वो 0 से 100 के बीच में कुछ भी हो सकती है. अगर परफेक्टली कंपेटिटिव इंडस्ट्री होगी देन इट इज जस्ट 0. इट डजंट मैटर बिकॉज 4 फर्म्स भी दे विल अकाउंट हाउ मच? नथिंग. इन मोनोपोली इट विल बी 100%, right? So the book says that in case of 4-firm concentration ratio, in case if the concentration ratio comes out to be more than 40%, then it is an oligopoly. If it comes out to be less than 40%, then it is a monopolistically competitive industry. You with me? तो अगर हम ये पता करें कि वो जो 4 फर्म्स हैं उनका जो परसेंटेज सेल्स है, परसेंटेज वैल्यू ऑफ सेल्स है, वो 40% से ज्यादा है, तो ये ओलिगोपोलिस्टिक है, राइट? ये बहुत ज्यादा कॉन्सेंट्रेशन है. और अगर ये 40% से कम है तो ये मोनोपोलिस्टिकली हो सकता है, राइट? और कम जितना होता चला जाएगा ये परफेक्ट कंपटीशन की तरफ टेंड करेगा. इट विल बी टेंडिंग टुवर्ड्स परफेक्ट कंपटीशन. देन यू हैव Herfindahl-Hirschman index. So what do you mean by Herfindahl-Hirschman index? You just take up the sum of the square of the shares of the I firms, right? So there are n firms in the market. You take up the share of each firm and then you square this and you take up the sum for this, right? So अगर एक मेरी फर्म है, मेरी फर्म का शेयर कितना होगा? जितना मैं प्रोड्यूस कर रहा हूं अपॉन द टोटल आउटपुट. सो वट एवर आई एम प्रोड्यूसिंग अपॉन द टोटल आउटपुट इज what the share of my firm, right? So QI upon capital Q. Similarly, your firm is producing Q2, so your share is Q2 upon capital Q. You with me? So it is what? S1 square plus S2 square and so on to Sn square. So you take up the sum and this sum will come out to be S1 square plus S2 square and so on to Sn square. So in case if this value of Herfindahl index comes out to be huge, right? If it comes out to be huge, it means that the concentration in the industry is increasing. You just think about it. If supposedly there are just 3 firms in the market, right? So, and one of the firm has 50% of the share, other firm has 25%, other firm also has 25%. So there is a huge concentration in the industry. So it means that the concentration is increasing and the market power is also increasing at the same time. Because in case if there is any firm or any industry which is characterized by high concentration of industries, you will find that it will be also characterized by the huge market power because they have the power to set the price above their cost reasonably. If there is low Herfindahl index measure, Hirschman-Herfindahl index or Herfindahl-Hirschman index measure. So industry is closer to perfect. I'm doing this after, I don't know, so many years this Herfindahl-Harshman index. I think the last time I did this when Professor I think Aditya Bhattacharya sir, he taught us in EDPI in the school. So that was the last time which I just remember it, Herfindahl-Harshman index. And you know what, when you are a student, I mean, we don't appreciate a lot of things. We don't appreciate a lot of things. That is why any professor is doing this or that. I mean, sometimes even as a student, even I didn't appreciate many things. Sometimes you just want to pass exams. But then when you start teaching, and then you realize, oh, there are so many things. You get curious about it. So the more successful person is, he should be curious even in his student life, right? And of course, if you're a teacher, you should be curious definitely about your subject. Otherwise, you cannot be a good teacher. But even better is someone who is more curious in the student life, right? Sometimes, I mean, I also remember what mistakes I did. So anyways, so low Herfindahl-Harshman index. So in case if it is a low index, then it means that industry is competitive and close to perfect competition, right? So Herfindahl index less than 1000, it means it is competitive. If it is between 1000 to 2000, it is moderately competitive, maybe monopolistically competitive. So, okay. Then you have equilibrium under monopolistic competition. So, equilibrium under monopolistic competition is, in the short run, it exactly behaves like a monopoly, right? So you have the demand curve with you, and you have the corresponding MR curve with you. You have the MC curve, which is going through the minimum of AC curve, as you guys could see here. And what is happening is that these firms, they are going to produce at the point where MC is equal to MR. So as you guys could see, MC equals to MR is at the point where Q short run is written. And when you substitute this Q short run back into the demand function, what you get is the price in the short run, right? And when you look at the Q short run where it hits the AC curve here, and from there if you just find out what is the cost, you get this as the cost, AC. So I've just shaded the portion which is the profit of one particular firm in the short run. You with me? It's simple. I mean, it's not much difficult. It's the same case as in the short run, right? So I have given you a case where this firm is making a profit. Of course, it could also be the case where it makes a loss. Then you have long run. Now it is little different, because in the long run what happens is your MC curve is still cutting the AC curve at its minimum, but and you are still producing at the point where MC is equal to MR, right? And at that particular point, when you hit the AC curve, it is just touching the price axis here. Not price axis, it is just touching the demand curve here. You understood what I'm trying to say? AC curve है, MC AC के minimum को अभी भी cut कर रहा है, और equilibrium कहाँ पे है? Where MC is equal to MR. When you take this QLR to the price curve, at that particular point only your AC is touching the demand curve. That's what I have written. The demand curve has shifted as other firms have entered the market and increased the competition. In the long run, firms are also still producing at this point where MC is equal to MR. This AC is just touching the demand curve at this particular point. यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा था? This AC was not touching the demand curve. तो उसकी वजह से cost और price में difference था. So in the short run, what happened was that there was some difference between the cost and the price. Here in the long run, what has happened is that there is no difference between the cost and the price. So even the price is same and the cost is also same. So the price is same and the cost is also same out here. And the firm is no longer able to sell at the higher price, at the higher prices compared to the cost. So the firm is not making any profits in the long run, right? That's what you're trying to say, that the firm is not making any profits in the long run. And so this is the important point. That is you have no profits in the long run in monopolistically competitive industry, right? Now, the other point which you have to remember is that in the short run at least, you are setting the price above the marginal cost. No, you are setting this. And if you are setting the price above the marginal cost, it means that you are not producing at the level of perfectly competitive industry. It means that there is the efficiency loss. It means that there is inefficiency. And why do you think this inefficiency is increasing? Why do you think that these monopolistically competitive firms can set the price above the marginal cost? Because they are giving this thought in the minds of the consumers that they are selling a differentiated products from their competitors. So they have certain market power over their product. They can set the price above the cost and they can still make profits, right? So, and if price is above the cost, price is above the marginal cost, then in that case there is an efficiency loss, and here the efficiency loss is arising due to the product differentiation. And then the last point here is the excess capacity in the monopolistically competitive industry. So I've taken the long run case, and you are producing it at this point where MC is equal to MR, as you guys could see here, and you should have, I mean, basically AC is minimum rather at this particular point. AC is minimum at this point. Long run equilibrium is occurring where demand curve is just touching the AC curve. This is the point of the long run equilibrium. But AC is minimum rather here. So there is some excess capacity which is still remaining in the monopolistically competitive industry. So in the long run, the firm is operating with the excess capacity, right? So because I mean, तुम क्या करना चाहोगे? तुम अपनी कॉस्ट को मिनिमम करना चाहोगे ना, बट यहाँ पे मिनिमम तो नहीं हो पा रही है बिकॉज तुम तो उससे पहले ही प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो. So there is some excess capacity which is left out. So in the long run, the firm is operating with the excess capacity. I need to talk about this particular point in detail also in other recording. Right? Okay.